Hello everybody, it's your boy Holy Joe Rock and Roll, and I'm going to start a new playlist here. I'm calling it Expat Stories from Around the World. Now these are true stories from expats that I've run into in my travels. And one thing you have to be mindful of is when you meet expats, whether they be from the UK or from the US or from wherever they are, oftentimes the first story they tell you is only partial truth, only the partial truth of why they're not in their home country, why they left. But this is a story really interesting, and any um, movie buffs or screenplay writers, this I think is a perfect story for you if you were to embellish it and turn it into a movie. This is a great story. I'm not going to use his real name. I'm just going to call him Mike. But there was a guy I met here in Krakow. I'm calling him Mike. I try to remember that. And he seemed like a really laid-back guy, kind of mellow. Seemed like a little bit like a burnout in a way, like had those kind of characteristics of like a burnout, like someone who smoked a lot of weed. And found out that he was married to a Polish girl. He was American, and he had one child, and he was teaching English is how he was surviving here in Krakow. But that wasn't the full story. The true story goes back years earlier, maybe 10 years earlier. It turns out, now, of course, this is the story that I finally got. Now, could it be true? Could it be false? I don't know. But it's a lot more interesting and probably more truthful than the original story was just, hey, some guy fell in love, moved to Krakow, and is teaching English. So here's how it starts. This guy named Mike, he was a single guy. He was a Marine. He was in the Marine Corps, and he was assigned to one of the consulates or embassies in India. And for his annual leave, he decided that he was going to buy or rent a motorcycle and kind of travel around India during his 30 days leave that he had. So into about a week or so of his leave, he decided that he would drive through one of India's national parks and just camp. And that's how he was living, just camping along the way. And when he got to this national park or national reserve, it was getting dark, and he started to set up his camp just on the side of the road in the national park. One of the security people or wardens or some person of authority drove by and saw that what he was doing and said, "Sir, you can't stay here overnight. There are lions. This is a national game park. There are tigers roaming this park, and it's extremely dangerous for you to be out here at night. Why don't you come with me? Come to the village that I live at. I'm from, whatever, because we're having this annual celebration, and you're welcome to come." And they're very hospitable, invited him to go to this celebration and hang out with them, for the night or whatever. So he goes to this Indian celebration, and there's this one, I don't know, I may be wrong, but there's a particular area in India where they celebrate, and they're vegetarian, but they serve up this special drink, milk-based drink, soaked in marijuana or hashish, something like that. And as part of the celebration, people will sip on a glass, during the whole night, whatever. Maybe they'd have one glass, maybe two, I don't know, for the people who are there longer or used to it. So they're celebrating, they're having a party, he's there, and they tell him this. They say, "Listen, just drink one glass, okay? Just drink one glass because it's very strong." Well, he liked it so much he wound up drinking 6 glasses of this potion, and he passed out and slept for like 3 days. And when he woke up, he was just I don't know, just couldn't believe, I don't know how he felt or whatever, and he decided to stay with these people for longer. And he wound up going AWOL, not returning to base, absent without leave. That's what AWOL is. And after some time, he realized, well, he better not go back. He'll be arrested, put in jail, possibly. I don't know. He was scared. I'm not sure what his rationale was, but he decided, I'm not going back. And on his motorcycle, he just started driving, I guess it would be east from India, and went through various other countries. And whenever he needed money, he would stop and teach English along the way. And so he did this several times. And I'm not sure exactly what his route was. I heard that he might have gone through Russia, and maybe this actually might have been before the fall of communism. Might have been. I'm not sure. It's possible that it's right at the end of what communism, when the USSR collapsed, right around the end of that. So he does this on his way heading west. Eventually, I think his plan was to go back to the United States, but he was trying to save up money to fly or whatever to get back to the U.S. But his last stop was Krakow, and he stopped here in Krakow and teaching English, met a girl, fell in love, and decided to stay. And, as I said earlier, he wound up getting married. They have a child, and he continues to teach English, as far as I know, to this day. I haven't actually had contact with him in a few years, but when I last ran into him, he was doing the same thing. And that's the story. I mean, that you can sort of fill in the blank between, India to Krakow in terms of where he might have gone, how he might have got there step by step. But he obviously went through several countries to get to Poland. And that's the real story. And I think it's pretty interesting, and it sure is a lot different than the original story, which was just very simple. Came, teaching English, fell in love, decided to stay. So this is the first of many stories that I will relay to you. Hopefully not get anybody in trouble, but just talking to you about what I've heard along the way. I'm Holy Joe Rock and Roll. I hope this has been entertaining, and I'll see you soon.